Jesus tells a story about a young man in the Bible who had everything in his father's house. There came a moment where he decided that he wanted to leave home with the inheritance that was promised to him. This led to being a life consumed by the ways of the world and a real culture shock. Everything that he had was squandered away in wild living.
I really relate to the story of the prodigal son, being born in the church, spending many hours there. I saw the church as my own family. My parents are pastors, and I really admire all that they've had to overcome to raise a generation that loves God. My dad is from Africa, and he grew up in a broken family who didn't know God. He lived under the oppression and the abuse of his parents, being sent away at the age of 11 all the way to England to live in an all-boys boarding school, while my mom was born in New Zealand on the other side of the globe and lived in a separated family without a mother or father present for much of her youth. My parents, however, were radically saved in the 60s, and this marked the future generations. I grew up in England and had a real encounter with God at the age of 6 years old, receiving God's call on my life to live in His presence and serve Him always. At age 18, I joined a band and set off to become famous in the world of music. Quite like the prodigal son, I told the Lord I want to live my dream on my own. And I felt Him release me to do what I wanted in that moment, like the Father did to the Son. However, I always remembered the call I received at 6 years old to live in His presence and to serve Him always. Well, a year and a half of living the life of rock and roll, and I found my heart sad and really disappointed. It didn't make sense because we were beginning to really go somewhere as a band. The dream seemed to be working out in the world's eyes. We were in San Diego, California one night, and we just got done performing a concert, and I felt desperate. I dared to ask God what He wanted to do with my life. Like the prodigal son came to his senses and he got up out of the pig's pen, I knew I needed to return to Jesus and get up. The Lord told me in that moment, Luke, I called you to live in my presence and serve me always. So I said, okay, here I am, Lord. He put on my heart, go home to your family and be with the church. I didn't even hesitate. I made the decision to get up, go home, and I made my way back. This changed my life forever as I repented to the Lord and to my family. They received me with such a celebration. It's crazy how much I relate to the story Jesus told about the prodigal son, because just as this young man was given new clothes, new shoes, and a ring on his finger, I received this new identity. I received a purpose and the authority to being a son again. You may be hearing my testimony today and relate in some way. God's calling you to come home. He wants to redeem you. He wants to give you a future that's full of blessing. So make a decision today and say in your own words, Lord, here I am. Save me and restore me. I'm returning to you, and I'm not going to look back.